It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. Welcome to the very last official summertime show for Red Eye Radio.
The end of climate change.
It's the end of summer, and so tell us about your summer. Don't tell us about. We don't care. Don't tell us about your summer vacation.
Well,
we don't want to know. We probably already do know. A lot of our listeners actually send us stories and pictures. But seriously,
what I did over my summer vacation?
Yeah,
I got up. I looked for a job. I hung out in front of the drugstore. On the second day of my vacation, I woke up, looked for a job, hung out in front of the drugstore. Third day of my vacation.
I get it. But seriously, what the heck, man? It was, it was great weekend. You had some travel. I hung out with my kids. My youngest daughter turned 27. Isn't that crazy? You and I have been together about the time the adoption was being finalized.
Yeah, I remember.
About that time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she's so much fun to be around. She's so funny. And so we had some fun. One of my granddaughters, number 4, is turning 15. My oldest daughter's youngest daughter is turning 15 tomorrow, Tuesday. So I didn't attend it, but I supplied the snacks and pizza and cake for her party. My wife and I did, and it's the least we could do, and I'm always looking for the least I can do. And so I don't want to get too involved. I'm not doing, I'm not now. I will, every once in a while, we'll have a talk, and if they need, guardians at a dance or an event or whatever, do they do dances anymore? I don't think kids do dances anymore, do they? I don't think they do dances anymore.
I can still remember being in junior high, and it's like the first junior high school dance.
Yeah.
And of course, I was so nerdy. I don't think I ever went to a dance in junior high or high school.
Yeah.
I did go to a couple of CYO dances, which was a Catholic youth organization.
Okay.
I played
All right.
basketball for them.
All right.
And so if you played, I didn't want to, but it was, you had to participate in activities of the Catholic youth organization.
Okay, yeah.
If you wish to play basketball.
All right.
So it was like,
all right.
Man, I gotta go.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I got to play basketball. So
It's
I
like-
guess I'll go. Yeah, that's interesting. I had never pondered that question. But it's whatever the kids do these days. This is the great thing about being a grandparent. More and more, it's like. My youngest, number 8, we were at my dad's house a few weeks ago so we had all the generations, my son, my and his son and my dad, in the room together, and it was fun. And then he wanted to play catch with this little ball in the living room at my dad's. And I said, look, number 8, the problem is you're number 8. If you were number 1, the cuteness didn't wear off for like 5 or 6 years. You're 4 years old now, and it's kind of over. So the look on his face, he says, so is that a no? I said, of course it's a yes. Now, here's the thing. He wanted to play basketball, and I had to make my hoop with my arms. Now, what's the problem with that? Okay, you guessed it. My face is the backboard. And I told him, I said, nope, dunking only. Dunking only. And I lowered the rim so he could dunk. And twice he still went off the backboard. But it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend.
It was a good weekend, but as I told you before, I'm done with this.
Yeah?
Not that I'm done going back to see my dad.
Yeah.
But I'm done doing these quick 36 hours where I go to a concert on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, those sock hops go late, don't they?
The what?
The sock hops?
Well, Betty Goodman got out there with the Dorsey brothers, and it was
swell.
It was a wonderful time, and we were swinging. Oh, wait a minute. Swinging in the 1930s definition of swinging.
There
I want
were
to make
some
sure.
dandy gals out on the floor. See, this is why this generation doesn't do dances anymore. Right there.
No, it was great. It's funny because
so who did you see?
I saw Kim Mitchell, who used to be with the band Max Webster, and if you want to know who they are, because a lot of people don't know who they are, they're a Canadian band, and all I'll say is this. If you ever watch any Rush documentary, Kim Mitchell's in there.
Oh, okay.
Because he used to tour with them, and they did a song together called Battle Scar, which is just a great song.
And Kim Mitchell known for Might As Well Go for a Soda.
Yeah,
right?
Might as well go for a soda. He was also he actually was a DJ he was actually a really good DJ in a classic rock station and would bring people in. And I can't think of the guy who was with Mr. Big. The guitarist, who's a great, also with Razor X or whatever.
Yeah. Gilbert, Paul Gilbert.
Paul Gilbert, yeah. And I saw an interview that they had when Kim Mitchell was a DJ, and he comes in and Gilbert's just going crazy. He goes, I can't believe I'm meeting you. He goes, is it true that one time when you were in Toronto, that all you did was go to the record stores to find, Max Webster? And he goes, and Kim Mitchell, records. Goes, yeah. And he goes, but here's why. And he starts playing. And the one thing that I like, Kim Mitchell's has a Frank Zappa guitar that's listenable.
All right.
That is much more in a pop form. He's a great guitarist, but he also was probably one of the best in having, I called him an arena rocker because of the chords, the arena rock chords.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Paul Gilbert's sitting there, he starts playing all these intros of Kim Mitchell songs going, I'm like, oh my God, this guy knows them. And it was amazing the number of rockers. Sammy Hagar, the same thing, knew exactly who he was. So, so he was huge in Canada. And then it was funny because Go for Soda is not an anti-drinking song.
Mm-hmm.
It was a song about, when you're in a relationship, hey, we need to sober things up. Basically, all right, we need to, basically not be emotional anymore. And he was telling the story saying that all of a sudden Mothers Against Drunk Driving in America picks up on it.
No, they did. It became a thing.
It did. And Kim Mitchell said, he goes, well, his manager came to him and said, Mothers Against Drunk Driving are using you as your as her like theme. And he's like, but it's not about it. And they go, shut up.
Yeah.
They go, shut up. And then I don't know if it was before or after a Miami Vice episode leads with that song.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So, and I don't know if that's why Mad picked up on it, but it was the thing is for me, it was the show didn't end until probably 20 after 11
p.m.
PM, yeah. PM.
It didn't do a matinee for the older guys.
This isn't a Jim Brewer, the comedian Jim Brewer story about, what nursing homes are going to be like when he's in one.
Right.
The matinee or the early morning heavy metal
Did
jam.
they serve brunch? Nap time?
And so the funny thing is, I didn't see them there, but two people that I know from Dallas did the same thing. They flew in for the show.
Yeah.
And this one guy I know, and he used to be a liberal who used to irritate a couple of friends of mine, something fierce. Liberal. I had a conversation with him one time when he was still a liberal, and I had no problem with him. I didn't really, because like most liberals, if you know how to argue, if you do it professionally, especially, and you've done it as long as we do, it's not hard if they're actually willing to discuss the issues. Mm-hmm. And when I had a very nice debate with him one time, he was like, yeah, okay. Well, I guess, yeah, okay. But
You wore him down, did you?
I wore him down, yeah, exactly. Somehow I can do that. That's the one thing. The one enjoyment is I can wear them down. No.
At the end of it, okay, fine, I'll vote for Trump.
But I can't believe that I didn't see him at the show because it's a beautiful theater with the Wurlitzer organ still in it.
Oh, yeah.
Called I got mind blank here. The Riviera in North Tonawanda, New York.
Okay.
And it's actually where I had not been in it until I saw Pablo Cruz there a month and a half ago. Remember, I went back and did that?
Yeah.
And I had not been in there since, I think, 1965 when I saw my first movie in a movie theater,
Oh, wow.
which was Mr. Roberts there. And I had never gone back until August. And then, again, last night they got the big marquee, it looks like... It could have been a sock op. It could have been with these lights and everything else. But I saw a picture today because I saw another friend say, hey, Gary McNamara was there too. And I look and there's a picture and he is in the place and he's got a shirt on and it says F with the word Fauci. And there's a picture.
Wow.
He is no longer a liberal because of COVID.
Wow.
Isn't it great?
By the way,
we can talk anything, and it somehow relates.
Comes back around.
Well, it all relates.
But, because everything, we've talked several years ago, it was a while back, where everything, and we talked about it then, everything became political. Well, it was pretty much, I think, the advent of social media, but it was everywhere. Just everything was politicized. And then how was it not going to be, if you think about COVID, how was that not going to, because of the way that it was handled? It was the response to COVID that people have a problem with. And I saw somebody in an interview recently, and the T-shirt that they were wearing indicated that too. And I don't know if this person is a conservative, but they're certainly not on the side of liberals anymore. And I wonder to what extent that goes, that is going on.
Well, I mean, he is absolutely, anti-Biden, which was amazing. But it goes on to like 20 after. And then I start talking to different people. And my buddy Dennis, who went with us, his daughter, they sat in different seats, but his daughter's there, and his daughter, oh my, she's just amazing. A doctor who plays and she plays lead guitar. And now she's in a blues band. And and I've seen YouTube videos of her. She's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, cool. I get a chance to talk to her, and that was not for a long time. And finally I said, guys, I got to go. By the time I got back to my dad's house, it's 1 a.m. Yeah, I toss and turn. At 2:30, I'm up. I never got a bit of sleep. I got some on the plane. And then, just yesterday, just late, I'm going to cut. Here's what I'm doing when I get home. I'm going to ride the bike a couple of miles. I'm going to cut the lawn, and then I'm going to do a great swim.
Yeah.
I never got off the damn recliner.
So
and went to sleep about 5 and then, came in, and I'm just like, I can't. I'm fine. I'm rested, but I'm jet lagged. I got jet lag.
To summarize, you have a hangover from going to see the guy who's saying, might as well go for a soda.
And I have a sober hangover.
Yeah, no,
I have.
It's
not even that. I have a hangover from the guy who in Canada, one of his most popular tunes is "Hangover."
Oh, all right. See,
Hangover. It's all Alka-Seltzer. It's all over. It's a hangover.
All right. Yeah.
So no, it was so, but it was fun, and we did the normal breakfast and everything else. But it's like, I need to, the funny thing is, when I go to see my dad now, he used to stay up till 11. Now he goes to sleep at 9, and I'm right there with him.
Yeah. Right.
And so if I have to get up early in the morning, if I have to get up at 2:33 in the morning, I go to bed at 9, it's fine. If I try to go to bed at 1, it's like, no way.
If I go to my parents, it's the same thing. If I'm there at my parents' house, and I'm staying the night, about 9 o'clock. Now the thing is, I flip my schedule on the weekend, but it's usually about 9:30. I'm going to bed. Well, Dad's going to be up at least till 10:30. He's going to watch the news, and he doesn't really care for late night TV anymore. But whatever, Kimmel or Fallon, he doesn't watch any of that. But he'll definitely watch the news at 10, and then at maybe 10:30 he goes to bed. My mom's watching Fox News while they start showing the reruns from earlier, still watching it until midnight at least. At least.
It's funny because my mom, it wasn't that, but it was talk radio. My mom would have talk radio on all day till she went to bed at night.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
She really was. I mean, my mom was really, my father, he, not that he wouldn't listen, but my mother was addicted to talk radio. She would listen, and she had her own opinion. She didn't always agree, but she just loved the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
So we got a great show ahead. There's so much to talk about.
There's so much going on.
Tentative deal, I guess. A tentative deal in the writer's strike.
All right.
The poll. All we have to say is the poll. That was the presidential poll. I didn't even put presidential and just say the poll. I mean, here we are, more than 13 months out, and that poll came out that showed Trump up 10 points, and it just was.
Yeah.
It was insanity. Biden, I love this story. Trump was going to speak before the auto workers, and now Biden's going to stand in the picket line the day before. Wow. They knew they were getting burned.
Yeah.
Would he have, if Trump hadn't done it, would Biden have done it?
No. He doesn't care anything about it. He just doesn't want to be outdone by Trump.
And Biden gets away with his another racist statement.
Yep.
Saw that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course.
And a whole bunch. I mean, there's so much to talk about. 866-90 Red Eye.
Did you know that up to half of all major engine failures are due to poor cooling system maintenance? That's a lot of downtime and can cost drivers big. You expect a lot from your engine, which is why the cooling system must be a part of your maintenance routine. Here's a tip to keep your cooling system in shape and your engine running smooth. Make sure the system is properly filled with coolant at every PM interval and during pre- and post-trip inspections. Underfilling the cooling system can cause corrosion and your engine to overheat. Coolant is also used to keep DEF tanks thawed in the winter. If you notice unusually low coolant levels, be sure to have your cooling system inspected by a professional technician. This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You know, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't be laughing over corruption in the Senate, but I'm sorry, but whatever drink I was drinking at the time, I heard it had to be Friday, right, about Menendez, Senator Menendez, and the bribery, which, by the way, he's gone through before. You know, he was tried already for bribery a few years back, and I'm like, oh, what do they have now? All I needed to hear was they found gold bars in his house. I mean, that was, I lost it at that point. Well, that's a problem.
You know what I was thinking of? You know, the whole Biden thing, he's going to one-up Trump on the whole UAW thing. He's going to, he's going to picket solidarity and whatnot. He's, I was waiting over the weekend for him to go, well, that's not bribery. This is bribery, Jack.
Exactly.
To try and one-up Menendez for getting all the headlines.
You had the same thought I had. Is now the Biden camp going to say, okay, there's the gold bar standard?
Yeah.
And I'm like, right. The gold bar standard? Yeah, I didn't have gold bars.
I didn't have gold bars. Yeah. I didn't take any gold. What do you say? That will be Karine Jean-Pierre this week. Well, Peter, as I've been saying, the president never took any gold bars.
5 hours a night, And still not enough. Listen to our podcast available on the app and on our website, rediradioshow.com.
And he's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, that poll came out. The media's going crazy on it. The one that shows that Trump is up by 10 points on Biden.
Oh, my gosh. That was, out of all the things that shocked me over the weekend, or I guess that didn't shock me, that one came out of nowhere. I won't say shocked, but it was like, whoa. But here's the question. How many, we've been asking the question, okay, where are independents on Trump? And look, I don't think it's going to change. I don't know of anything that can change the fact that Trump is towering over everybody else in the GOP. If I had to put a bet down today, he's the nominee. And I think the Trump camp knows that, or at least right now they're counting on the numbers being the same. And then you look at the general election, and we were asking, okay, but where are independents? The idea was the left wants Trump to be the nominee because they believe Biden can beat him. Well, also, the left doesn't want the guy who's running on the left to be running. And so if you start seeing an erosion in numbers, if this is not an outlier, if this is consistent, then it will be all hands on deck, Gavin Newsom.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, it came from the Washington Post. It did
I know.
the poll with ABC.
I know.
Well, this is an outlier.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Well, we don't know that yet. It might be.
You're so early on. Does it show a direction?
We don't. And there's the thing, too. Man, I want to get into the methodology of it all.
Right.
Somebody get Scott Rasmussen on the phone.
Yeah, as he looked at the methodology behind it.
Because I would love to see the breakdown of it, and I would love to see where they. But yeah, that was the thing. And if it's not an outlier, if there is a trend, a true erosion in the numbers that start to show, well, okay, whoa, let's back this Freightliner up for a minute. Do the left media pollsters care about how they have, and it's been very clear in the methodology, the leftist media have manipulated the questions and responses and everything else, and the weighting of the polls in different demographics for a long, long time. It's not anything new. And then they use these broad headlines. Polls show that, I remember on the flying thing, polls show most Americans want everyone to wear a mask on a plane. Well, that poll means crap because most Americans don't fly.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So, so now let's ask the question this way. Do those same liberal pollsters look at it and go, let's do a different kind of poll? One that's like, I don't know, honest. One that has a very direct question. One that's not very curvy.
From our long experience of talking about polls on the radio, we know that the most common answer is when you don't like a poll, well, I don't believe polls. I've never been polled.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says that when the poll is in their direction.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And so, as we've stated before, are there outlier polls? Of course there are.
This might turn out to be one.
And it might be and it might be, but you don't usually see the people who actually do the poll claim it's an outlier, because then what you're claiming is your polling isn't accurate.
Right.
So, but it was the response to the media on this. Listen to this story here. A video of Republican commentator Sarah Isker speaking about the weakness of the Democratic presidential bench in a panel discussion on ABC this week was deleted from a post on X. They're now calling it X Twitter. A post on X Twitter under the official This Week account, she had observed that the Democratic leadership is old and that the younger Democrats are thought by Democrat voters not to be ready for prime time. The post is still up with the now deleted video and has over 1.4 million views. Oscar, a former Trump Department of Justice spokeswoman, cited a new ABC Washington Post poll that the president is beating Joe Biden 52 to 42%. That also shows nearly two-thirds of Democrats do not want the 80-year-old Biden to run again, but that Democrats have no one in the wings that they want to replace Biden on the ticket with Kamala Harris topping that field at just 8%. And so her discussing all of this was deleted from the from the Twitter. Now, here are the possibilities. Possibilities are it's a legit poll, and it accurately shows what people are thinking.
Right.
Roughly a little bit over 13 months, out from the election.
Right.
We know that any poll that's taken this far out, may not be accurate. We know that. We know that already. We also know that polls show the trends of what people are thinking. We've always looked at polls and said, okay, what is the movement of the polls if you look at all the polls to get an idea of what's happening? So, there's a possibility it could be an outlier. There's a possibility it could be right on. There's also the possibility that the ABC Washington Post poll doesn't want Biden to run, and the way to do it is put out about a bunch of polls done by the leftist media that shows he's going to get killed, and the pressure will be to force him out to get a better candidate. Because even if it is an outlier, they're happy with the outlier. They're actually happy that the right is saying, oh, the media is panicking, because that may put more pressure on the Democrats to attempt to convince Biden not to run. Just looking at all possibilities.
Well, no, because you look at it, and what do you need to do? You need to break the confidence. I mean, if you can't, you're not going to break his defiance, Joe Biden's defiance. So what do you have to do? You're going to have to, as a group, demonstrate where people are. Look, I'll throw this out there. If pollsters are willing to manipulate, and I believe they are. I'm not saying this one was manipulated, but what I'm saying in general, if pollsters are willing to manipulate to get whatever results they want from respondents, and we talk about it. Well, first of all, can you qualify the respondents? Can they name 3 branches of government? Are they actual voters? Are they likely voters? All these things are important. But if they're willing to manipulate in order to show a favor to what they believe in, their agenda, when their agenda turns, and their agenda right now seems to be, and we've seen it, the conversation has changed on the left. Joe shouldn't run. I mean, look, that same Washington Post, who was it that wrote the piece a couple of weeks ago? Mm-hmm. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris shouldn't run in 24.
Yeah.
That was out there. It's out there. It's not even. Remember, for the while, it was, oh, no, no, he's fine. No, he's the guy. So if they're willing to manipulate for their agenda, when their agenda becomes, man, we don't want them to run, I'm throwing these things out there. I don't know. I'm not blaming the pollsters in this case. I'm just throwing this out there, and I guess we'll see. We'll see if there's a trend that shows in the general, Trump is going to beat him with no problem whatsoever. And by the way, we said this early on. I think it was right after the Mar-a-Lago raid for the left, and we said, look, the left would love to have Trump there again because they believe that the hatred for Trump will allow Biden to win again. And we said something, and I think we said it a couple times along the way since, and that is, well, be careful what you wish for.
You never know. This is, as we have stated before, And we've stated that, many Republicans and even Democrats believe that Trump can't get independence.
Mm-hmm.
That is the concern. He just can't get independence. And we have said that may be so. It also may not be so. There are variables in this election that just have never existed before.
Yeah.
In election history.
Right.
And you can't tell anybody who's making a prediction outside of the pollsters that it may be a reflection of what people are thinking today, even if it is an outlier and off a couple of percentage points. But to predict what's going to happen next year, you're just guessing. And let's play just a couple of audio cuts here. Okay, these couple of audio cuts from the Sunday morning news shows. This is from Jen Psaki's show, I'm Clueless, on MSNBC. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not called I'm Clueless. It's called The
Actually, for about a split second, it didn't even faze me. Until you tapped the brakes on that, I was fully on board.
Here she is, and apparently he couldn't get a date yesterday, so Eric Swalwell was on. And here's
his girlfriend's at a balloon flying festival.
Wait a minute, is that going on in New Mexico now?
I don't know.
Isn't that coming up?
I'd watch it. It's coming up this couple of weeks, I think.
All right, here they're, as they're talking about the approval numbers, okay,
right.
for Biden. Here we go.
Nature abhors a vacuum. In a void, Republicans, will continue to tell lies about President Biden. And that's in part why I think his approval rating is as low as it is that they tell these lies. We don't punch back hard enough. We play on our side of the field rather than theirs. And then on the right-wing media ecosystem, it just reinforces those lies. And then they use the low poll numbers to justify why they're going to lean in even more.
Okay, you know what that's the equivalent of? That's the equivalent of, if you guys will stop talking about inflation, there won't be inflation. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. And by the way,
inside the ecosystem, it's like,
did the people at Civics just quit?
Yeah, I know.
I think they just went home.
I know. I look at
like what? I got to go back. Seriously, it's been a year. It's been a year where he's been floating at
14,
13.
13.
Yeah.
What is it now?
It's 50. I think it's 53, 39.
Yeah,
but it's somewhere in there. 53% disapprove. Sorry, 53% disapprove, 39% approve, but it's been hovering right there all along. Okay, here's my question: when they come back into the office at Civics, do we start seeing a shift there? Because their poll hasn't
really hasn't moved.
Hasn't moved.
Yeah.
This is Joe Biden's job approval, and Civics polling has been doing this for years for presidents, and it's a daily running poll, but it seems like they've just kind of gone. Well, the whole thing is flatlined. Literally, if you look at their chart of where it goes back to last year, September of last year, it really hasn't moved much at all.
So here's more on ABC as they talk about the poll, the new ABC Washington Post poll on ABC yesterday.
All right.
And who do they bring in? Buttigieg, who got pounded last week in front of members of Congress of being completely clueless of the science of electric vehicles.
Yeah, right.
But here's this. Here we go. Oh, it was there, and then it won't. It for some reason. Okay, it's my fault. We'll come back to it here in a little bit.
Okay.
We'll take a break. Come back. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, here's Buttigieg on ABC yesterday about the poll.
Do you say to the 44% of Americans who say they are worse off now than they were before Biden took office.
Well, look, we all know the economic pressure that Americans have felt. When the president took office, the economy was flat on its back. But we're also getting extraordinary results. More than 13 million jobs created. That's more than any presidential term in American history.
Okay, that's the lie that they
That's a
continue
lie.
to tell.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Yeah, those were the jobs that, again, people were forced to by government, by the government saying you need to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Shut down.
They went away.
They went away.
And then they came back.
Those were
You're
jobs.
not creating new jobs.
Right. Those were jobs not created. Those were the jobs coming back that already existed.
Mm-hmm.
So they continue to use that. That shows you how desperate they are. And he says also, it takes a while for people to feel the full benefits of these incredible, great results. They're gaslighting.
It's garbage.
That's all they have.
Yeah,
It's pure gaslighting.
They're telling lies about Biden. People can't see all the benefits of what we're doing. People see what's going on in the economy, and they see Biden when he's on the world stage. They know.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Here we go, another week. Woohoo! Impeachment inquiry. I still don't know what they're going to be doing.
We don't know what the agenda is for Thursday, and that's when they're going to kick it off. I mean, I think a lot of it will be, likely, kind of an opening statement to set the tone of what everything is about, and that's what it should be. For a lot of people, for so many Americans, this is going to be an educational process. They're going to be just learning, if they're paying attention, to a lot of this. They're going to be learning about a lot of this for the first time. So, but it's not a complicated scenario. Here's what I would advise for Republicans is to reset. One of the old rules in talk radio is that if you come out of a commercial break and then and I say old rules because it's just been around for a long time. But I was going to say something.
We don't pay attention to it. No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say because we don't use it. Our audience
we do. I mean,
our audience is smarter than most audiences. Like Levin's audience, they're nowhere near as smart as our audience, and they know it. Shapiro, come on.
So what you're doing is
setting up a meeting with management.
No,
that's what I'm doing right now.
I'm going to insult others by complimenting our audience. And by the way, we're just kidding.
Yeah, of course we're just joking. But no, but the old rule is to reset, right? Okay, here's what we're talking about, and here's the issue. When you come out of a break, but I would advise for the Republicans, and I understand. Look, it's a different process. I understand clearly that they're not doing a talk show. Although I would listen to Jim Jordan, but first time, long time. When you lay it out, when you get into the weeds, there's going to be a lot of questions, the back and forth. It is a process for a reason, and you have to do that. You've got to build it. But as you build it, I think, and they don't have to do it necessarily in that setting, but I do think they have to be pretty vigilant about recapping and saying, okay, look, here's where we are. Because the reason I say that, the big picture is pretty clear. People understand money and influence. They understand that kind of exchange. And you get into the weeds on the Russian hoax. Well, that was the Clintons doing that, man. That was a little more, that was I guess a tangled web that was built by a couple of people that know what they're doing in that regard. And this is the Bidens. So when it comes to laying this out, it is a simple equation.
Yeah, I think it's just a difference between resetting and restating the talking points over and over.
Yeah.
And because if you look at, for example, look at the talking points that we were just playing right now on Biden and the economy, that people just haven't. We've done such incredible things, but things have been so bad, and we've been so great that Americans just don't know how great we've been. Well, it hasn't worked. You're using talking points that can be argued. For example, when Buttigieg came out and said, well, I mean, it's been an incredible economy. 13 million jobs have been created, as if these were jobs that didn't exist. They were never there. And because of the growing economy, that's where the jobs came from. Well, the argument, the talking point against that is very easy, and we were able to do it in a few seconds, and it's not debatable.
Right.
And it simply is, well, no, that's not true. Millions of jobs were lost. Millions of jobs were put on temporary hold because of COVID. And then when we opened back up as a society, those jobs came back. That's not the same as creating a job in a normal economy, and the people know it. The fact that they keep using that talking point over and over and over again, any idiot can sit there and say, they've been saying that for the last year. I know what that is. I've heard the talking point against that.
Yeah.
The problem that the Democrats have, and we've said this all along, with this impeachment inquiry coming up and repeating the same Republican talking points. First off, you say, well, what's the Republican talking points? The Republican talking points, we'll give one, for example. Please explain why the Biden family set up 20 different fake corporations where money was funneled through accounts to 9 different Biden family members.
Right.
Explain all the different FBI whistleblowers. Explain the emails that Hunter Biden wrote that we have access to because Hunter Biden left his laptop at a computer place. Explain the Treasury Department suspicious activity reports about bank accounts where they're worried about money laundering that is actually created by the banks and sent to the Treasury Department. That's the problem that they have. The public looks at that and is suspicious already. All you're doing is explaining it, and the Democrats' response to all of those right there is, there's nothing there. There's been never anything there whatsoever. There's nothing there. Well, if you look at the polling, the American public knows. They're not sure exactly what it is, but they know that something looks pretty damn suspicious, and there is absolutely probable cause to continue an investigation.
Yeah.
That's the It always gets back to whether your talking points that you are repeating have any legitimacy to it.
Right.
And that's the problem the Democrats have, with the and I'm using two different things, the impeachment inquiry versus them attempting to tell you that the economy is just doing absolutely fantastic. And they even know it because the same place where these people get on, liberals make it on and watch the news, the mainstream media, they're not even buying into it. Let me play. This is some of the discussion on the Washington Post ABC poll. All right.
Yeah.
So here we go. So at the same time, you have these representatives come on ABC and say, oh, it's just people just don't recognize how incredible it is. Then you get this.
When you dive into the big questions around the economy, we know President Biden has been out there trying to make the case. Unemployment is low. He's been talking about how inflation has been easing, but people aren't buying it. You covered some of the reasons why. Gas prices, food prices, grocery prices, and the like. Right now, on the big picture on the economy, 74% of the country, that's about 3/4 of Americans, who say the economy is either not so good or downright poor.
All right, that's one. Let's get to another this is Rick Klein, the political director for ABC.
These numbers are simply staggering for the sitting president. 44% of people in this poll say they are not as well off as they were at the start of the Biden administration 2.5 years ago. Those are the worst numbers that we've seen in our ABC News Washington Post polling. It's a question we've been asking going back to the Reagan administration. These numbers are simply staggering for the sitting.
There you go. And then Martha Raddatz brings on the Biden administration after all this, saying, no, things are wonderful. They're wonderful.
People
They're
just
wonderful.
don't know how great things are.
Well, nobody's buying it.
It's crap.
So everything always does get back to you can repeat something over and over and over again. You know, I was looking at was it Clyburn? Who's about the polling that shows that African Americans are, bailing from Biden. He goes, that's absolutely not true. It's racist. It's this. It's that. It's this. It's that.
Yeah.
It's like and I'll use another one. It's like Menendez.
Yeah,
Menendez coming out.
This is racism.
Right. This is racism against Latinx. Yeah. Use the X.
Yeah.
In there, and I'm just like, wow. Talking points. The reason Republicans are winning on the impeachment inquiry is not because people favor Republicans.
Right.
That there's this incredible, landslide of people coming over to the Republicans right now. They may, but that's not the reason. The reason is that when you look at the evidence that they have presented, not their allegations, because these aren't allegations looking for, cherry-picking a narrative or a narrative cherry-picking the evidence. All the evidence came from either Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden's business associates, because of the laptop, and actual financial records that are completely outside the universe of any Republicans being able to manipulate any of it, which comes from individual banks sending it to the Treasury Department because they fear money laundering is going on.
Right.
Americans look at it and go, okay, now it's not gold bars in your house or $80,000 wrapped in a package
in a freezer,
like a hoagie in your freezer.
Yeah.
But it's leading there.
Yeah.
And people go, why would a family need, as we stated before, when they say, no, Hunter Biden, he's the corrupt one, because that's the new narrative. He's the corrupt one. He's the one that made the money. He was selling the image of influence, the image of access, but Joe didn't know anything about it. Well, what about the 9 other family members that all got money? So are you saying that the entire Biden family is corrupt and has used Joe for years, over a decade?
And what about Hunter saying that he had to give money to his dad?
Well, yeah, that's the other one.
And all that.
We talked about last week, the Republicans have to use when
Right.
the mainstream media says there's no evidence that Joe Biden got money, well, except from his son saying he did.
Yeah. Have you heard about the laptop?
You need to do that. Like, have you heard about the laptop?
Have you heard about the laptop?
Have you heard about Hunter's own emails?
Well, I mean, that's
because you're making it sound like we're throwing allegations that we have just made up. Hunter said it. Hunter said it here.
Exactly.
Hunter said it there. Could you? And I'd actually look at the reporters and say, could you explain that?
Right.
Well,
Explain
no, but you haven't seen the actual transfer of money. Well, no, that's the probable cause,
no,
that sends you
exactly.
looking and continuing the investigation.
What,
are you dense?
You've got 5 million red flags, and, well, that doesn't prove anything. Okay, fine. It warrants an investigation. Tell me it doesn't. Tell me it doesn't warrant a thorough investigation. And in terms of Capitol Hill, what will begin on Thursday is the beginning of officially that thorough investigation. And that's exactly the process that the Constitution allows for.
And so the question would be, we shouldn't be investigating it to an independent. Loyal Democrats would just say, well, none of that's true.
Right.
As we've seen.
Right.
Well, no, that's not true. Well, it is true.
Right.
No, Hunter's laptop doesn't exist.
Right.
Hunter has never acknowledged that it's his laptop, as he says his his privacy has been invaded because people are looking into the laptop that isn't his.
Yeah, the guy that that took selfies of him self. Did I just do a Mike Myers, Austin Powers? I'm going to take a selfie of myself.
Yeah, our suggestion here, Red Eye Radio suggestion time. If you're going to do crack,
don't take
selfies.
Right. I thought crack would make you paranoid.
I'm not going to take a selfie. I don't want anybody to see me.
He's over there taking selfies.
Wow.
Huh.
Can arrogance supersede paranoia?
Oh, yeah. Biden arrogance can. And it runs. And that arrogance is to the bone.
Can arrogance supersede
drug
paranoia?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All of his, other code druggies are screaming, the cops are here, and he's like, so what? With his cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Put a shirt on. Seriously, get dressed. Put a shirt on. What's wrong with you? Oh, wait, I know what's wrong with you. It's the crack.
He was really seriously one step below that dude at the Buffalo Bills game last week.
Yeah.
That went in the porta potty.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we don't know everything about Hunter yet. I would hold judgment just yet. I wouldn't be shocked to see the words porta potty and Hunter Biden in the same headline.
866-90 Red Eye.
This owner-operator driver report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so-called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue.
This report is brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. For example, we'll give you again as we talk about talking points.
Yeah,
and what makes a good talking point, and repeating the same talking point again. And we've used the Biden economy versus the impeachment inquiry.
Right.
And let's play Representative James Clyburn now, because you have another talking point that they have used consistently, which really is pretty hollow now, but they've got nowhere else to go. And this is on Meet the Press yesterday about the impeachment inquiry and Joe Biden.
Yet President Biden, according to one witness testimony, was on the phone 20 times with Hunter Biden's business associates. It was described as pleasantries, but is that appropriate?
Well, his associates said they were pleasantries, but I think it's appropriate to be a father to your son.
There you go. It's appropriate to be a father to your son, and you don't impeach a man for being a father to his children.
Yeah. Love is love.
Exactly. Love is love. That's what this is all about. And it's like, okay, then is love. So love, what does it have to do with the 20 different fake corporations that were set up? That were set up to transfer money to 9 different Biden family members. Is that more love?
Right.
Is that love's?
Exactly.
Because it is, a number of people out there. So that's the fact. Nobody's going to buy those talking points, but they have nowhere else to go.
No, they don't.
When your message is strong, when your talking points are credible, the other side has nowhere to go.
Well, and, I'm waiting for them to say, Joe Biden puts his family above all, including the law. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's just, he just loves his son. It's not the question. Actually, I do have some questions about that, but it's not the question. I just want to be honest about it. But it comes down to, is the current president compromised? I believe he is. And the left doesn't want him to be the guy. Look, I can't prove that he is, but I know of a way to get down to the answers and determine whether or not he is.
But the options that you have left is that he shouldn't be president of the United States because his whole family manipulated him, and know, and at the minimum, I mean that's our only talking point left is well, he was used by his entire family as an illusion of access.
Everybody took advantage of it.
Right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Red Eye Radio. He is Red Eye Radio. We are Red Eye Radio. He is. What I meant to say is he's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. But you are Red Eye Radio. All right,
I've been known to be Red Eye Radio at times.
Download our Red Eye Radio app and you can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. We just got on the thing where we're listening to audio cuts, and just with the impeachment inquiry coming up, and, two different stories we just got on, and we decided, because I think it's important to do this, because you don't get it. You don't get critical thinking questions on the Sunday morning news shows.
Right.
You just don't get it. You don't get it from the mainstream, media. So when you look at the impeachment inquiry this week, that's, one thing where you've got a bunch of talking points on both sides, and we said what makes a talking point more credible. Well, what makes it more credible, as we talked about the impeachment inquiry, is when all the evidence comes from the person who is the suspect, or the suspect's business partners, or the suspect's electronic records that don't come from the prosecution, the political prosecution that would be the Republicans. Mm-hmm. That's the problem that he has. On the economy, as we hear all the talking points, to the point of gaslighting. And I do think there comes a point when you hear day in and day out, or when you start paying attention to politics, and maybe people are now, as the summer is over, now we're getting into election season, we're a year out, and people can see it on the internet, and you've got a president up there every single day. I mean, every single day he speaks, it becomes part of popular culture. The one where LL Cool J couldn't get his name right, and then he called him boy at a Congressional Black Caucus event. I mean, you can't make this kind of stuff up. And then it was Friday, repeating the same thing. That was Friday, but or was that over the weekend? Then there was Friday or Thursday when he was repeating the same thing. He said something, then he repeated it almost word for word. And then the White House. No, he repeated word for word because that shows his insistence and passion for that particular topic.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Nobody buys it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, as they talk about, the problem with the polling that came out that just sent the media crazy yesterday. Then there's also the view in the polling of Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Where Americans have a less favorable view of her than even Biden. So why is that reason? Let's go to Clyburn again, all right? Here we go. Let's see. That's the polling. So what is the liberal talking point? And let's see if it has credibility by breaking down the possibilities.
I know that you're saying you don't look at the polls too much, but our poll does show her favorability is actually lower then President Biden, and even then former President Trump. Why do you think she's not resonating more with voters? What do you think the issue is?
Because when you compare the first woman of color and first woman to be vice president of the United States, and compare that to all of the history before, you will get that. I think they're doing this.
Okay, so what does that mean? That the United States is racist and sexist.
Yeah, right.
Now, here's the point, because we've already lived this before when Kamala Harris was really the first candidate back in 2020 to drop out. It was like December, right?
It was the first week of December, yeah.
Yeah, first week of
2019.
December, where she was out. And what did she claim then? This was the primary.
Yeah.
Racism and sexism. Well, okay. You can even be a Democrat and say the Republicans are all racist, right?
Right.
That may be your
In fact, I
belief.
think it's required.
Right. You don't get your Democrat talking point card unless you're willing to admit.
Right.
But let's say you're a Democrat and you believe, all right, anybody who is a Republican is a racist. Well, that was the primary. That was all Democrat voters, and that was the claim that she was making. Well, is that true? Are all you Democrats racist and sexist? Because that would be the question I would immediately hit him on. Well, wait a minute. You're saying then she's a woman of color and the first woman to be vice president, and that's working against her. Are you making the case that it is racism and sexism that's responsible for her low popularity? Well, he's going to have to answer probably yes or no on that, or give a long, convoluted answer, which would have to absolutely say yes. And you say, well, then tell me why it's so low with Democrats. Now, Kamala Harris claimed that racism and sexism was the reason when she dropped out of the primary back in December of 2019. Right. Yeah,
right.
2019.
Right.
So are Democrats racist and sexist? And then you wait for the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about critical thinking all the time on the show, about connecting the dots, whatever. But there's also, as we've talked about before, it's a part of it, critical thinking questions. And if you don't ask the critical thinking questions, you open yourself up to anybody who is a critical thinker.
Right.
And that's the problem that the Democrats have there. Everyone knows that Kamala Harris's low popularity numbers have nothing to do with her being black or a woman.
No, it has to do with the fact that she's not qualified to be in that position.
Exactly.
Democrats know.
So there's a talking point that fails from Clyburn. Sorry, doesn't work out that way.
Yep. And it's, again, over and over again. It's also the gaslighting. The how dare you.
And the other thing I like is, by Clyburn's logic, Americans were not racist enough to elect Obama president, but they're racist enough to deny the first woman president.
Right.
So are we more sexist than racist? See, these are the questions you have to.
Well,
these are the things. And then
you
when they
go by their playbook, right? They write the rules.
They're going to get angry. They're going to do it. They're going to do a Karine Jean-Pierre with Ducey.
Yeah,
that's fine. Have him walk out. Have him change the topic. Have them hang up on you. Do whatever. It's not going to work.
No,
because people will know, and that's how you win. That's how you win elections. That's how you win the message with the American people. You're a critical thinker when it comes to questions, and you don't see it on Meet the Press. Even though our buddy is gone. She's just as bad.
Well, that's it. It's not going to change because the mindset inside that media group is not going to change. But the fact of the matter is that, we're in a few places, we're starting to see people wake up a little bit. Now, I don't expect those Democrats that are saying Joe Biden shouldn't run. These aren't Democrats that are becoming conservative. They're not switching to the Republican Party like the mayor of Dallas.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
That was a surprise, right?
I was on the plane Friday, saw that, I went, I didn't read that right.
Eric Johnson, mayor of Dallas.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll talk about that in a bit. But
I completely forgot about that.
And you shouldn't expect that these, a lot of people are wondering, okay, when something happens, where anybody's criticizing Biden and they're a Democrat, that doesn't mean that they're going to vote for Trump. Doesn't mean they're going to vote for DeSantis. It just means they don't want Biden to be the guy. In fact, many of them, turns out, they believe he's just not capable of selling the agenda properly. The mumbling and these aren't gaffes anymore. This is who Joe Biden is. And there's no way around it. And right now, starting Thursday, things are going to change. I think they're already changing, but starting if they're not, Thursday will, I think, wake a few more people up. It may wake a lot more people up.
And since we're playing audio here, let's get to Face the Nation and AOC.
All right. Okay.
On the auto workers strike and the vehicle that she bought.
Okay.
Here we go.
You were quoted back in July saying you look forward to buying a union-made electric vehicle, but you currently have a non-union-made Tesla. UAW already makes some electric vehicles.
Yes.
So why wasn't that? Is it a problem with the quality? Is it a problem with the style? Is the market just not there?
No, our car was purchased during the pandemic when before a vaccine had come out. So travel between New York and Washington, the safest way that we had determined was an EV, but that was prior to some of the new models coming out on the market that had the range available. But we're actually looking into trading in our car now. So we're looking into it, and hopefully we will soon.
No other answer, is there?
No.
I don't know what the COVID vaccine had to do with it.
It's
that was extremely poor.
It's the blah blah blah. We're looking into it.
Yeah,
we just might support the union officially with a purchase and vote with our dollar to back the union with a purchase. We might. We're looking into it.
We haven't.
We're thinking. We haven't yet. To be clear, we haven't, but we might. You never know. I mean, seriously.
You know.
It's garbage. It's garbage. And okay. Here's my question with the whole UAW thing. Biden going to walk the picket line? Is he going to be walking in the right direction?
Well, Buttigieg would not say that he supported the president supports the 4-day work week. He would not answer that question.
Right. There's no way, until he's not running, there's no way to keep him from stumping, doing these things. He's got to be out there. But every time he's out, there's a super cringe moment.
Yep.
Every time.
Oh, I mean, they're just getting worse and worse and worse.
I mean, Biden, I'm sure, will tell this story of how he was a UAW member for 40 years. And he relies on that pension. His family relies on that pension.
I'm so old, I had one of the first EVs before they started making gasoline vehicles.
Right.
In 19-aught.
Yeah. Oh, by UAW, he meant Ukrainian Authority.
Nice.
Different UAW. That's where he's getting his pension. There's no way to predict. There's no way to predict what's going to happen. But he's got to be in front of cameras. He's got to be out there because he's running for re-election. As you mentioned, we're 13 and a half months out. That'll go by quick.
Or it will go by very slow.
Well, for a lot of people.
In my mind.
Well, for a lot of people on the left, if he's still the guy, every moment's going to be like, please make this end. Please make this stop.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, not Gary McNamara. All right, I had to go by the Babylon Bee and just look at the lead headline. Senate relaxes rules to allow Fetterman to take baths in the reflecting pool. My God. Did you see, who was it? Was it Fox? The reporter that went out dressed like Fetterman
trying to get into
restaurants.
Yes. Oh, that was great. The one where the hostess, do they call them hostess? I don't know what they call them anymore.
I think they're
still politically correct.
They're servers, but they're still hostesses.
Okay. So she's looking at the guy at the still shop, and she's looking at the guy like, I'm sorry, what? You think you're getting in here? You know, it's these, nice restaurants in New York City. Wasn't going to happen. I noticed, at least I had heard a friend of mine in the D.C. area said there's a Febreze shortage. And I said, well, it's laundry day at Fetterman's house.
Now, Fetterman would be able to get into what was the restaurant in Texas that if you went in with the tie, they cut it off?
Trail Dust.
Trail Dust, yeah. You get into a Trail Dust.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Put on a cowboy hat.
Sure. Yeah, but that's funny watching that whole thing implode, which it continued to do over the weekend.
Yep.
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, 866-90-RED-EYE. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. This audio happened over the weekend with the president. It's really bad, too. I mean,
It's only getting worse.
This is Congressional Black Caucus Awards. And, we'll just play it here. Here we go.
Karen Bass, a visionary mayor, and does whatever she says she's going to do. And Karine Jean-Pierre, my press secretary. No wonder I'm doing okay. And Justin Jones, a new voice that gives us hope for the future, Justin. And two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than mine.
I'm sorry, what?
It was a Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Phoenix Awards dinner.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
And it's funny because I think the audience first thought he was just having fun with his name when he said LLJ Cool J, but like he didn't know it. But then saying that boy, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean.
And then realizing what he said.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I mentioned this to you, leading up to when he started yelling, you notice, I wonder if he starts yelling because he talks more clearly when he yells. Because there was like a minute before. Let's just
okay.
let me give you the beginning here, where it's just constant mumbling. It's just mumbling.
Right,
it's
right.
constant mumbling. It's and until he raises his voice, then it becomes more distinct. Here it is.
The CBC member staff in the room here include those who serve across my administration, like Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs, great Marcia Fudge, who's joined by several other cabinet members.
See, as soon as he gets louder, you can understand it's more distinct in his words when he raises his voice. But he gets into this now, and he'll do it for 30 seconds. Like, and then it's like, whoa.
Well, because it's when he's ad-libbing. When he's going off script. When he's louder, he's on the prompter. When he goes off script, that's when he starts, you know, the thing. And he can't stay on the script.
And I know, you know, the first reaction would be from people, you know, he's got cognitive problems. You shouldn't be making fun of him. I'm making fun of him.
No.
You know, it's.
No, this is tragic.
He's the president of the United States. And if you say you're making fun of him and he has got cognitive problems, then he shouldn't be president of the United States. That's the point.
That's it. Either he can do the job or not.
And, you know, but the gaffes are just like, oh, man. And it's like, you know, then last week we repeated the same statement twice in a speech. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But I just wanted to play that one because that was every single day that he speaks, there's something.
Yeah.
And, you know, you talk about the latest Washington Post Associated Press poll that has come out that shows his, you know, approval rating just 37%. And on things like the economy, was it 23? Only 23% of people approve of him and the economy. Wow. And
I'd like to talk to them.
Yeah. Who are you?
Right.
Why?
The economy's doing great. I mean, 23% is much larger than the 1%.
I have to tell you, I noticed it again when I went to New York. Not that prices haven't risen here in Texas. They have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm just, again, I'm saying this because I didn't pull out a calculator, but just scanning, you know, just buying stuff and looking at it very quick. And I remember going back and, to my family and I said, your food prices are really high here. They're really high. And they said, how much higher? And I said, well, I didn't think about it. I didn't get a calculator out.
Right.
But I'd say between 15 to 30% more than in Texas for these things that I buy down there.
Right. Yeah.
And the point is not to get an exact amount, but that's the feeling that people get. If I got that feeling, people who are struggling, the impact is just so much greater. And so you can say the economy's doing great. And like, what are you talking about? And gasoline is about 70 cents more a gallon.
Wow.
You saw New York, or you saw parts of California hit $6. What was it, a week, 10 days ago?
Right.
Something like that hit $6 a gallon.
Right. Wow. I paid $3.19 yesterday.
It's $3.19 around the corner from me, and it was like it was almost $4. $3.99 is what I saw at the gas station around the corner from my dad's house.
Yeah.
So,
well,
80 cents.
You know,
70 cents more.
And the thing is that all of the surrogates out there for Biden right now that are saying, well, people just don't know how great the economy is. That's such a slap in the face. They don't? You mean the ones that are getting a side gig, maybe a second side gig, just so they can pay for the same amount of things they were paying for just a few years ago? You mean those people?
you talk about out of touch because it's, we talk about how the administration keeps saying, no, the economy's doing great. It's doing great. It's doing great. People will finally catch up when it doesn't matter. They are completely apparently clueless or know that they can't defend themselves. And so they make stuff up like we created 13 million jobs. No, you didn't. Stop it. Those are jobs that were temporarily put aside because of COVID and came back again.
Right.
Not that there aren't new jobs, because we're always getting new jobs as we grow more in population.
Right.
But the fact is you have had this incredible growth rate, as they talk about. But the fact is they refuse to acknowledge that inflation is how people judge the economy.
And if they had had their way with COVID, we'd still be in that hole. Many of those jobs wouldn't be back by now. I'm talking about the left, the Democrats that really wanted to keep the whole COVID shutdown thing going.
Yeah. And so, you can say all you want, but people have jobs. People have jobs. Yeah, and don't you understand that's worse than if 10% of the people are unemployed? Because if you have a recession and 10% of people are unemployed, the other 90% are working.
Right.
And odds are prices are moderated because of the recession. The worst thing you can have is inflation when people are working and then they get another part-time job and they still can't keep their head out of water.
Right.
You want a bad economy, that's how people judge a bad economy. And if you don't understand that, then you are viewed as completely out of touch.
Right.
You tell people, well, you have jobs, so be happy. Doesn't matter if I have a job. I'm not keeping up with inflation.
Right.
That's part of the economy, too.
Right.
Well, no, we don't view inflation as part of the economy. Well, then you're an idiot. I mean, that's...
It has just been this, and it's stupid answers. A whole set of stupid answers now for, it seems like, really the last year. But if you look at this summer, it just seemed like they were just going straight into Stupidville. Oh, well, I mean, they've said things like that before. Remember, inflation is happening because people keep saying the word inflation. They said the same thing about recession. Well, the economy's slowing down because people keep talking about a recession. Well, things are bad because people are too stupid to know. This is where they are. We've said it for years. Democrats think you're so stupid, you don't even know that the economy is great.
Wow, maybe it'll work for me. All right, let me try it. If I would just repeat this every single day. Every hot woman out there wants me.
Yeah, keep repeating that. You should repeat it to hot women. Can you record that? I'd like to see it. It really is so absurd over and over again. Oh,
but I use that. I use the absurdity of that to try to make the the point of how delusional these people are.
Yeah, exactly. That's like me looking out my window.
Because only half the hot women want me.
Looking out my front window. Wife says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just watching out for the paparazzi before I leave." She said, "There's no paparazzi out there." I said, "Yeah, look at them. They're dressed like squirrels right over there in that tree." But it is delusional behavior over and over again. But say it out loud in the form of the reality of what they're saying. People are too stupid to know how great the economy is. They're too busy paying attention to their second job. They're too busy with things like making ends meet. Silly little things. What they need to be doing is focusing on the positive. I mean, that's what they're saying.
I know.
And they believe it's a good political tactic Just get out there. And this is the political war room every day for Biden. Just get out there. Tell him everything's great. Tell him everything's great. Tell him everything's great. Yeah, did you hear what he said at the whole Congressional Black Caucus dinner? Did you hear that? Did you hear what he said the day before that and the day before that?
By the way, when I say that, I don't include in the hot women category Taylor Swift. I want to make that clear. And look, Kansas City Chiefs, could you please stop this? Just stop it.
What? The whole thing with the
Travis Kelce's apparently dating or something.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, and she was in the audience yesterday, and after the game, they even asked Mahomes, and there's all these headlines, Kansas City winning for the Swifties.
Well,
could you please look? I'd rather hear about Kaepernick. And hey, to our great friend of the show, and great radio personality, great podcast personality, Dale Carter, who was also the voice of Arrowhead Stadium. Come on, Dale, tell him to stop. Tell him to stop now.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear about it anymore.
We don't. Yeah.
We'd rather hear about the Buffalo Bill fan swimming in the porta potty.
Tell the crowd live there at the stadium.
Yes. Make the announcement.
While she's there, please.
Will Taylor Swift please sit down?
No. Would a Taylor Swift please come to the hot dog stand? Taylor Swift to the hot dog stand? The good news.
I'm going to hear from Dale on that one.
The good news for Kelce, he's now eligible to get Taylor Swift tickets for under $1,000. It was weird. I saw the still shots and him scoring and, she's screaming expletives. I'm cheering in a celebratory type way. But I just thought to myself,
I'm just
are they playing this story over and over again because they think we care?
Because they think we care.
I mean, is that the mindset? Oh, people are going to love this. Nah, we don't really care. We don't really care.
No.
I would think for the fans it's a distraction. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It could be wrong.
And Americans caring about the obsession about Taylor Swift, I frankly don't understand at all. I just don't. I have no idea where it comes. That's something that I and other pop stars, yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
Her, I have no idea what it is. I cannot fathom what it is. Why Americans are obsessed with her.
I don't get it.
They're just some
I
things.
don't get it either.
And it's not my age because I understand other pop
phenoms.
No,
I've talked about my second daughter and I were texting each other the other day about the NSYNC concert that we went to so many years ago. And I still have my ticket stub because I save all my ticket stubs. And that one's in hiding, though. But and Pink, it was her first tour, and she was opening up for them. And she was she's unbelievable live. I mean, it's unreal. And so now I don't sit around all day. I don't buy her music or anything else. But, man, you want to see a show? Mm-hmm. And it's even better today. It's only got, everybody tells me, and I've seen video clips and everything else, but she's tremendously talented. I don't see it for Taylor Swift.
Neither do I.
I don't get it.
I just don't get it. 866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Friday Night Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. And then some of the offshoot of the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift dating thing is because you saw it. It's all over the place on social media, you know, being the spokesperson or something for the COVID vaccine.
Right.
It's like, was that one of the best things? Are you going to try Bud Light next? I think he should date Maren Morse.
Yeah. Seems like a good pairing. Well,
after we talked about Maren Morse last week, the news also came out that, you know, she had brought her 2-year-old to a drag show. And I asked a question. Why is Maren Morse such a pervert who wishes to put her child in the middle of any type of sexuality at that age?
Right. Why would you do that?
Why is she such a pervert to do that?
Why
and
would you do that?
promoting that she's a pervert to do that?
Why in the world would you do that?
Yeah.
We've been asking the question for a while now. Is everybody smoking weed?
Oh, when I went to the concert the other day,
Everybody was smoking weed?
I'm across the street. I can't get drug tested today. I'm across the street. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a classic rock concert. Oh, my. And the closer I got, the stronger it got. And then when we left,
Yeah.
we're sitting out there, and I'm like, and the funny thing is, because when you grow up, you know, on the border, it's always, are those Canadian? You know, it's like, there's actually a different smell to Canadian cigarettes. And it's like,
Yeah.
is that pot or Canadian cigarettes? I go,
Canadian cigarettes smell nicer.
and it was like a combination of both.
Call and join the conversation. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
It's Friday Night Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, we played a lot of audio cuts from the media the media over the weekend, the Sunday morning news shows, and I just happened to see this right now. Just going through a few things, and this is from a trade magazine. According to a study commissioned by the Radio, Television, Digital News Association, most U.S. Now this is local news. Most U.S. local news consumers want journalists to ask tough but respectful questions of candidates and regularly fact-check those running for office. The study finds 62% of local news viewers and listeners say it is very important that local sources and journalists ask tough but respectful questions to get answers. And 61% said very important that they fact-check these candidates. Now, I wonder if this poll's been called an outlier. In our highly polarized society, Americans need to rely on their trusted local sources of news to get the facts about candidates, campaigns, and other political issues. The findings offer a clear roadmap to ensure local reporters and news managers are providing voters with the information they crave to make critical decisions in the voting booth. Other data from the study reflects news consumers' attitudes about news organizations, finding that 47% of those surveyed said they were in strong agreement that the information they get from local news is accurate and correct. The number drops to 41% when local news outlets cover political issues. It also found just 39% of people were in strong agreement that local news stories sources were balanced and represented all sides of an issue. And I know where this comes from. You and I talked about this because I was watching a lot of the local news sources again when I was back in Western New York this weekend, seeing Dad even for a short period of time. Still, it's the migrant situation.
Well,
it's still huge.
yeah.
But local news covers so much of water leak over here.
Sure.
Water leak over here.
Right.
It's snowing over here. But when they do get to politics, you can see the bias, the leftist bias of even the young. Because if you look at most local television today, unless you're in the big markets, these people aren't making any money. Even in television anymore, they're just not making any money.
Yeah, and it's.
I mean, and so they're not you're not talking about, you're looking for people just attempting to survive, get their thing and then jump to the next market.
Right.
It's funny because every time I go back there, I mean, I remember growing up there as a kid, you knew all the, the regular news people were there for years.
Oh, sure. That they would be there and then they would retire after, decades of being there. And now that's not the case, but
it's a jumping stone to the next level.
And in order to facilitate that next jump, you want to be, as a reporter, as an anchor, you want to be right in the middle of all the current event stories. You want to make sure that you're on top of it. You want to get an interview if you can, all these things in order to, build that status. But also because of the pressure of the locals. It's I can imagine that, like with all local media, as you mentioned, they cover what's going on locally, the leak or the weather or what's going on. But those things are kind of, while they're ever present, they are, each of them individually is resolved or, moves on, or the weather passes or whatever it is. With this current situation in New York, it is a current crisis in New York. It's a political crisis, which is separate for the party, the Democratic Party, but it is a crisis for the people. And it's a political crisis because it's a crisis for the people, because they're dealing with it, because locals are having to deal with it. And this has been going on in border towns for forever. And that kind of pressure drives local media to focus on it. You said it, I don't know, it goes back several months. But it's the local stories that often, will kind of shape the political landscape. And, you can go back to Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
It was
Great.
a few,
Yeah.
it was like 2 or 3 local reporters in Chicago that started questioning what was going on there. And remember, those reporters were maligned for just a few minutes until more information came to the surface. But that's how it plays out. Those big stories are ever present. That is going on right now in New York. And there are a number of things. I've got a story that I was reading yesterday about essentially the real estate market in San Francisco and how it's crashing. And I have a friend, someone I've known for over 20 years, and his wife is a real estate agent in that area, in the Bay Area. And I haven't talked to him. I haven't messaged or anything. I haven't asked, so how's it going? But you don't really have to now because there are so many stories about how people are just fleeing, not just California, but the Bay Area. And this was always bound to happen for a number of reasons. The crime right now, the cost of living in California, but especially in the Bay Area. And all these things are driving people out of there. And those stories, I'd love to, and I haven't been really checking in with local media in the Bay Area, but I'd love to see what their take is on it. There's only so much lipstick you can put on that pig of a story, because it's not good. It's not going to be good for San Francisco to have so much commercial real estate that's just been, all but abandoned, or at some point, possibly abandoned. Urban blight. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about that, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Because we were relating it to COVID, but then we were relating it to the mostly peaceful protests and how people had had enough. But then the cost of living, all these things are these are all Democrat-controlled areas. And these are Democrat policies that put every bit of this into play. The entire, everything on this list of conditions and that's causing all of this is a result of the public policy there on the local and state level. It's a choice. And it's not going to turn around. California is not going red. Portland's not going red. But now you start to see the Washington, D.C. in March, they were saying, there's no problem with crime here. Don't believe the hype. And then a few months later, they're murdering people in the streets. Help us. Now, again, D.C.'s not going to go red. So what's the answer? I don't know. Because I don't see anything changing there. You're going to elect a new group of Democrats? Who would that be? I'll tell you one person who saw what was going on in Texas, and that's the mayor of Dallas, Eric Johnson, who announced on Friday he's changing parties. He's a Republican.
Here it is, right here, what he wrote to the Wall Street Journal. I have it right in front of me. I have been mayor of Dallas for more than 4 years. During that time, my priority has been to make the city safer, stronger, and more vibrant. Well, that's really a interesting idea from a Democrat.
Yeah, right. Pro-law enforcement.
Make the city safer, stronger, and more vibrant.
Wow.
Better economically, better place that people wish to come to.
I'd never heard of that.
Wow.
Wow.
What a novel concept.
But by the way, for a Democrat, it is, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's foreign.
That meant saying no to those who wanted to defund the police. It meant fighting for lower taxes and friendlier business climates.
Mm-hmm.
And it meant investing in family-friendly infrastructure such as better parks and trails. The approach is working. Alone among America's 10 most populous cities, Dallas has brought violent crime down in every major category, including murder year after year for the past 2 years. In a recent Gallup poll asking Americans to rate the safety of major cities, Dallas came out on top. We have also reduced our property tax rate every year since I took office, signaling to investors that Dallas intends to remain the nation's most pro-business city. Now, Fort Worth may argue.
Mm-hmm.
This philosophy, I was looking at the other day, they said that the only two major cities, out there that are Republican-run are now Fort Worth and Dallas. And in the state of Texas. Or maybe it was the state of Texas. In a recent Gallup poll, again, Dallas came out on top. This philosophy has helped attract growing small business in several Fortune 500 companies, including Goldman Sachs, a construction engineering firm, and a global commercial real estate outfit, CBRE. After these wins for the people of Dallas and after securing 98.7% of the vote in my reelection campaign this year, wow, that's Putin-like numbers. I have no intention of changing my approach to my job, but today I am changing my party affiliation. Next spring I will be voting in the Republican primary. When my career in elected office ends in 2027 on the inauguration of my successor as mayor, I will leave the office as a Republican. I realize this will come as a surprise to many. During the decade I spent serving my hometown in the Texas House of Representatives, I was a Democrat in a Republican-controlled legislature. I prided myself on finding common sense solutions and working closely with my conservative colleagues to improve policing, education. Hang on here a second here. My computer's going crazy here. Let me see. I pride myself on finding common sense solutions, working closely with my conservative colleagues to improve policing, public education, and water infrastructure. I was never a favorite of the Democratic caucus, and the feeling was mutual. By the time I was elected mayor, a nonpartisan office in 2019, I was relieved to be free from the hyper-partisanship and ready to focus on solving problems. But I don't believe I can stay on the sidelines any longer. I've always tried to be honest and say what I think is right for my city. The future of America's great urban centers depends on the willingness of the nation's mayors to champion law and order and practice fiscal conservatism. Our cities, and by the way, and I know people, say, well, what's his angle? What's this? He might have an angle, but he is saying all the right things. You are promoting what makes government work, which is, I need to make this a better place to live.
Right.
Our cities desperately need a genuine commitment to these principles, as opposed to the inconsistent poll-driven commitment of many Democrats that has long been a defining characteristic of the GOP. In other words, American cities need Republicans, and Republicans need American cities. When my political hero, Theodore Roosevelt, was born, only 20% of Americans lived in urban cities. By the time he was elected president, that share had doubled to 40%. Today it stands at 80%. As American cities go, so goes America. Unfortunately, many of our cities are in disarray. Mayors and other local elected officials have failed to make public safety a priority or to exercise fiscal restraint. By the way, when he says failed to make public safety a priority, no, they haven't. They've made it a complete priority to make your safety not as great as it was before. Mm-hmm. They actually have focused on it. Most of these local leaders are proud Democrats who view those cities as laboratories for liberalism rather than havens for opportunity and free enterprise. So there you go. And he continues to talk about, all the local tax dollars that are spent on policies that make homelessness worse, coddle criminals, and make it harder for ordinary people to make a living.
Yep.
It's right on.
Yep.
866-90-RED-I.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Then you have the other story about the California district attorney over Sacramento is suing the city for ignoring the homeless crisis.
Wow. When the whole thing was playing out in Seattle, and I guess we could apply this to all the major cities of where things are happening, how long before you see a ton of lawsuits coming that, just like this?
Yeah.
You're not doing your job.
We'll get to that coming up, Well, what would you sue for?
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on West. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, this news came out last night. A tentative agreement has been reached between the Writers Guild of America and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, a labor union, announced on Sunday night. We've reached a tentative agreement. Now, is tentative a framework? Remember, we always do.
Yeah, is it, what's the, I don't know how, didn't they said this last Wednesday. Well, at least David Faber at CNBC was implying that they had a tentative agreement. They would, and that if they didn't finalize it on Thursday, that this could go on till the end of the year.
Those specific details have not yet been made public. The WGA said the agreement is exceptional. And they started with a new slogan, "The crap is back." I made that up.
We're going to get back to
crap.
Making mostly horrible things.
With meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership. So we'll see.
Yeah, well,
they suspended the picketing, though.
All right.
So you get to that part.
Well, maybe Liam Neeson will make Taken 4. Could you just lock your front doors, dude? Your family keeps getting taken. You don't have any particular set of skills.
And the people you go after don't really seem to fear them because they keep coming back.
Just start with locking the doors.
Speaking of that, you figured they would eventually. Wouldn't you figure it's like, look, we don't like John Wick, but he's killed 5,000 of the people that we've sent after him.
Yeah.
He won't bother us if we don't bother him. Why don't we just move along?
Yeah. Why don't we stop taking his car and killing his dogs?
Yes.
There are two things we could start with. Leave his cars alone, leave his dogs alone. Is it just me?
No, it's just very simple.
The price of bullets has skyrocketed since the John Wick franchise began. I'm just saying.
I mean, the syndicate needs to realize, when you lose 5,000 of your people to John Wick, it may not be worth it.
Right.
I mean, the feds wouldn't have this much success against you. You won't screw with the feds. Why are you screwing with John Wick?
You know the scenes where he dumps the magazine quickly and reloads quickly?
Yeah.
And it looks like one Keanu came up with that.
Did
That's
he
all
really?
his.
Well,
yep. It's like, all right.
I haven't seen the new one. Do they still flash back to his wife, or has he found a woman yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I.
I know. I'm a bad John Wick fan. It's available. It's right there. I just haven't had the time yet.
Yeah, it is on whatchamacallit? It's on pay-per-view, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can get it.
Right.
All right, now here's another story that I went, huh? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. flirts with the Libertarian Party.
Hey, Libertarian Party. Looking good, huh? You working out, Libertarian Party? What are you doing?
In July, Mr. Kennedy met privately with the chair of the Libertarian Party. I haven't seen where they stand on what issue in 2024 yet, so I'll go back and look, see if they're actually libertarian.
You mean if they've come back to libertarianism?
If they've come back to libertarianism,
yeah, right,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
They were both at a conference at a meeting that had not been previously reported. He emphasized that he was committed to running as a Democrat, but said he considered himself very libertarian.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people on the left say that.
I know. Adding that they agreed on several positions, including the threat of the deep state and the need for populist messaging. Well, the last thing... Yes.
The need for populist messaging?
I knew that would get to you.
Need?
I knew that would get to you.
He said the word need.
Well, this came from the head of the Libertarian Party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
But that's...
But anybody that said the word need.
You're the head of the Libertarian Party. You're saying there's the need for the populist messaging from libertarianism?
No, that's even worse.
Need. The populism right now is they got theirs, I want mine. That's not libertarianism.
No.
Being a libertarian means I don't want the federal government to have nearly as much responsibility over all these issues as they do. That's really where the Federal Libertarian Party is supposed to stand,
Look,
right?
if
Government
you're
should be
saying-
extremely limited.
If you're saying
that's not a populist message.
No, and if you're saying that the libertarian message needs to be out there more, I would agree.
If it's the right libertarian message.
Exactly. If it's actually a libertarian message. But it has been co-opted by way too many on the left and distorted over recent years in terms of the actual party, Libertarian Party. Yeah, no.
So that other story we were talking about in Sacramento, the Sacramento District, Sacramento, excuse me.
Hello?
I'm sorry. I got to stop Biden.
Check, 1, 2.
Sacramento County District Attorney Thane Ho is determined, or it's Thane or Thane Ho, is determined to prevent California State Capitol from becoming another San Francisco, a city held hostage by left-wing ideologues who give free rein to the homeless. He's filed a lawsuit against the city of Sacramento for creating a public safety crisis and then ignoring it for years. The number of homeless in Sacramento has increased by over 250% the past 7 years. There are more homeless people in Sacramento than San Francisco. He said at a press conference last week. San Francisco has 716,000 people. By the way, that's the population. I don't believe that's the homeless. And Sacramento has only 528,000 people. Quote, "It is not compassionate to let someone die in the sweltering summer sun or freeze to death," said the lawsuit signed by Ho. "It's not compassionate when someone in a wheelchair cannot use a sidewalk blocked by tents or small businesses forced to close forever due to repeated broken windows and vandalism." Indeed, in May, during my last visit to Sacramento, where I lived for many years, I saw sidewalks often littered with needles and boarded up businesses with the homeless squatting in the doorway. Ho, who fled communist Vietnam as a child refugee in the 1970s, says the city has ignored his demands that it enforce a ban on daytime camping and issue citations to homeless residents in 14 encampments that are blocking access to property. City officials throw up their hands and claim that in 2018, the liberal Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals held in Martin versus Boise that cities cannot enforce anti-camping ordinances unless the city has enough shelter beds for every person moved. He rejects that reasoning, as does a group of business owners and residents who have filed an allied lawsuit together with him. We are stuck in this never-ending Groundhog's Day loop where nothing gets better and nothing improves, he said at a press conference. He fully expects to lead the prosecution team in any trial. We will be calling 400 to 500 witnesses who will testify about the city's actions and inactions. Will it ruffle some feathers? Will it hurt some feelings? Ultimately, yes. But our responsibility as elected officials is to make sure that we keep our streets safe and clean. And frankly, that hasn't happened for years. I'm trying to figure out what exactly the lawsuit is filing legally, though. Now, he said, of course, it's said that the wheels of justice grind slowly, but the lawsuits that Ho and allied groups of citizens filed last week have been given a court date. It's 11 months away. Contrasted with the lawsuit taking an opposing point of view that was filed in Sacramento in 2022. It sought to bar the city from clearing any homeless camps owing to extreme heat. That lawsuit got a hearing in 3 weeks, after which a federal judge ordered the city to stop any clearances and then reissued the order a month later. So much for priorities on what defines a crisis. The district attorney's office is pressing the local state court for an earlier date.
Well, because the stories all say, it's for creating and perpetuating a public safety crisis, but legally, where does that fall? Because Legally, if you're saying, I'm suing you for not doing your job.
We know that doesn't work on the federal level.
Right.
It hasn't worked the
Right.
Biden administration.
Right. It's never worked in the courts. Quite unfortunately. And it doesn't matter what oath any given person or the collective have taken for their office. Quite unfortunately, that doesn't stand up in court. That's not going to be your legal basis for it. Not protecting the citizens.
Well, because government can pass a law
yeah,
to make your life a living hell.
They can.
We've seen it.
Right.
They've been doing it.
Yep.
Or they can pass executive orders to make your life harder. Because, and I know most of us would look at it and say, just like the mayor of Dallas, who's becoming a Republican, said, the job is not to create something that's unlivable.
Right.
It's to create a better society and a more vibrant society where people feel safe and secure and have a great quality of life. That's our job. Well, if you don't do that job, that's not necessarily a lawsuit.
Well, that's it, because you can file a suit for actions that lead to something, that lead to damage, but you file a suit for inactions, and it often just implodes. It goes nowhere. Especially when we're talking about public officials. And that is quite unfortunate. I can't look, I don't share the frustration that they do because I'm not there experiencing what they're experiencing, but certainly we all have a great deal of frustration of what's happening to major cities all over this country. How can you not? Unless A, you don't care, or B, you're not paying attention, or C, all the above. This is fundamental. Eric Johnson, the mayor of Dallas, changing from a Democrat to the Republican Party, there were key elements in what he wrote in the Wall Street Journal, and you read it earlier. If you missed it, check out you can check out our podcast. But here's the thing. This is what he was saying is, and demonstrating, look, the majority of Americans live in cities, and these cities need Republicans. They need law and order. They need pro-growth. All of this is by choice. All of these things that are happening in these major cities, all of them are a matter of public policy. This was not some kind of natural disaster. This is happening as a result of people voting for other people who made this happen and are keeping it in place.
Look, we know that to fund the police, we know that no cash bail, we know cutting sentences, we know not enforcing laws that exist,
right,
all cause an increase in crime that damages people and gets them hurt. Hasn't been a successful lawsuit on those yet.
No.
Because the public is voting for it.
Right.
And you can vote for bad public policy that will hurt people, but you haven't been aggressive. You haven't said, okay, I'm going to do this behavior that will hurt someone, or you could be held liable.
Well,
the only thing you could do is if there was a constitutional amendment that dictated that all forms of government must make your life easier, and then try to explain that one legally and enforce that one legally.
Well, and that's what that this is going to be the challenge in court. Look, can you say the policy that they created led to this, which is now damaging citizens? You're going to have to get there. But really what you're saying is we're suing them for not doing something about it. We're suing them for inaction.
And
it's...
the problem is the cure is electing different politicians.
That's the
cure.
Ultimately,
right.
The people have put these individuals in place.
Right.
And you may not like it. You may disagree with it, but it's what's going on.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, this is an interesting headline.
Yeah?
The IRS with a new rule on reselling concert tickets. So the statute of limitations run out on Biden, on Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
And now it's not even $600 transactions anymore. Now the IRS wants to know about you reselling your concert ticket.
Oh, I see. Well, some football player's girlfriend's going to have some explaining to do. People seem to have profited millions of dollars by reselling their tickets to your show. Why is that, Ms. Swift?
I hate when they call all of her fans Swifties because I keep thinking of John Kerry.
Yeah.
Swift boating. So, that's why. Every time I hear that word, I'm like, oh, I see John Kerry.
I keep thinking of that dust mop. Yeah, so you make any money, reselling a concert ticket, then
we'll find out.
IRS wants to know about it.
We'll find out what those rules are. Also, this story out there that Gavin Newsom, in an interview in Bloomberg, said that he's extremely concerned, very, very concerned about his son listening to, like, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson because they're micro cults.
Micro cults.
Yeah.
What's a micro cult? I mean, the definition of a cult is that you would have a substantial following, I would think, right?
Well, micro beers. Maybe it's like
Rogan is the number one podcaster in nearly 100 countries. That's not micro, I don't think.
No.
Just doing the math.
Macro.
Yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. I don't even know if you saw this story.
Okay.
I've had some stories today where it's like, I don't know if you've seen them or not. and
we both had a very busy weekend.
Right. But if you've seen it separately or you haven't seen it, I still want to get the first reaction.
Okay.
Because if you've seen it, and you probably did because this story was in Politico, you did the same thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this from Politico. A major liberal group has drawn up a multi-million-dollar plan to make Joe Biden cooler online.
I saw it, and that's all that I read of it. You know what my response was to when I saw it?
Can't happen. It's impossible.
Nope. 2 other words. Well, good luck.
Okay, say.
I mean, it was just one of those. Okay, fine.
And the initiative has the blessing of a top White House official. The organization, Progress Now, is launching a $70 million project to help the president. Now think about
$70 million.
Look about this. And the thing is, you and I talk about money all the time, and no matter what we do in life, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's my investing, anything that I wish to donate to any charity, there always has to. I always view it. There has to be some type of return on investment.
Yeah.
I just don't give to charities and flush it down the toilet.
Right.
I'm not going to give to a charity that will enable bad behavior. I want to give to a charity that actually does a great job of doing whatever they claim they're going to do, which is a reason that I give, to them. So no matter what I do in life, I always, anything that I invest in any way, I want a return on the investment. I want to know that it's working. That's why when a lot of people give to charities, they try to find out, okay, how much is used for advertising and management? How much actually goes to help people?
I actually reach out to them, and if I can't develop that kind of relationship, a number of philanthropists will insist on volunteering to sit on the board and everything else. And I do sit on the board for a couple of nonprofits, but you're wanting to make sure that there is a real return, as you mentioned, on that investment in the cause.
So the point, $70 million that they had to get from somebody who they told, this is our idea. We want to use these millions of dollars that we're taking from you and others to make Joe Biden look cool. Now, remember, this is from Politico. This is this is their angle on it. They're liberal. This is about making him cool. So if I'm going to be honest to you as a, millionaire or a billionaire giving, would you give $10 million to help make Joe Biden cool online? Would you have questions about that, Eric, even if you were liberal?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Then again, you might not be a critical thinker if you're liberal, and so you might not have that question.
See, we apply it in the way that we think, but we don't know how to think that way. So we really don't know because here's what I would say. Show me the new cool version of Joe. Tell me what you think that looks like. Then when they flash a picture of Gavin Newsom, I go, oh, okay. Okay, I get it.
It's funny because in the article, there's the president walking with the first lady. He's got his thumb up in the air, like Fonzie, and he's got the aviator glasses on. I went,
For those under the age of 80, Fonzie was a fictional character on a show called Happy Days. Oh, my gosh. That's
for those who, to make it easier for many of you who are in your 40s even, he was the coach of the Water Boy.
Exactly. I love Henry Winkler, by the way. I do. I really do. One of my favorite liberals.
Wasn't he great in that role?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I'll never.
So great.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget the time that both he and Chachi were going back and forth on Twitter.
Oh, man, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Very interesting dynamic. I'd pay, you know what? I'd pay to see those two. Just a nice debate back and forth, sitting in on a stage in a local theater, right? That'd be fun. That would be fun.
It would be.
Yeah. Fonzie. Putting his thumb up in the air. Hey. Listen, here's my question. What kind of Corvette can you get for $70 million?
get back to the story.
All right.
So yeah, when I talked Chachi, for those who don't know, I was talking about Scott Baio.
Yeah.
When he and Scott Baio were going back and forth.
Okay,
So,
you know what? That didn't even faze me either. Because you've said it so many times, I guess. But it's the actor Scott Baio who played the character Chachi.
yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, I just say Chachi because it's Scott Baio, and it's like,
Right.
oh, I figure everybody knows.
We don't
who
mean that in
Chachi
a
is.
mean way. It's just it's kind of a
no, not at all.
shortcut. Yeah.
No,
Right.
I like it. What I love about when I see Scott Baio on Twitter, when people, I love the arguments people use. You haven't been a working actor for a long time now, so you can't get hired anywhere. Who are you to talk? He goes, I saved my money and invested it. I don't have to work. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, there was a thread with Dean Cain one day, and this guy went after him. This liberal went after him and said, "Blah blah 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 blah. Your work is horrible. I hope that you can. Here's hoping you can find work from here on with such a blah blah blah. As a conservative." And then I wrote in the thread, Dean, dude, this guy hates you, but he's worried about how you make a living in the fact. So Dean wrote back, is laughing about it. That's the attitude of the left. Blah, blah, blah. You didn't make my... Blah, blah. And?
Now, the best legitimate shot ever against Dean Cain.
Yeah.
Was when Marv Levy was a coach of the Buffalo Bills, and these new players would come in, and they would sit there, and he'd go, look, you think you can make the team, understand how tough it's going to be. Superman, I cut Superman. Dean Cain was a football player and tried out for the Buffalo Bills and got cut. He goes, so I cut Superman.
True story. Well, Coach Valdez in Del Rio can say, I cut Eric Harley.
Or every coach in Western New York through the 60s and 70s, every single one can say, I cut Gary McNamara.
Exactly.
So
it is.
You and I really don't have a great athletic history.
Well, no, and at least Coach Valdez could say, and I kept Shawn Michaels on my team.
And that's true.
Which he did.
That's true,
and he should have. And they went to one state that year.
And because he said, for you to try band, you ended up playing a musical instrument.
I wrote him and thanked him a few years ago, and I told him, I said, I'll never forget you as a teacher and as a coach, and he's also a musician. So, but yeah, I would. I've got a long list of coaches who cut me.
Or when I was cut by Jules Yakupovich, who. It was a couple of years after the school I went to, Kenmore West, won the national championship in football. They were that good.
Oh.
He's the one that came up. I've talked about it before, which was called the radar defense, which is all the stunting that you see today. You notice how, if you pay attention to football, how a lot of defensive tackles and linebackers are almost interchangeable. They're all at the line. And then you'll see, like you'll have a defensive end, and he won't rush directly. He'll back up, curl around, and come around the other side. All of that is the radar defense.
Oh.
Jules Yakupovich created it. So he cut me, and he was my German teacher. And he gave me some great advice one time in German class when he said to me, McNamara, stop picking your nose.
Oh.
And that is a true story. I go, no, it was a poke, not a pick. Going back to Seinfeld. But I didn't know it, but I was a talk show host in Buffalo. This goes back to 93, early 93. I didn't know he was on his deathbed. I was doing a show. I was on all night one time because it was a snowstorm. So I started
They made you do all-night radio?
7 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning, 2 nights in a row because I was just filling in.
Ew.
It was storm coverage. So I was just talking about him because someone said, hey, you went to Kenmore West, didn't you? And I said, yeah, and I started telling the whole thing of him telling me not to pick my nose and, him letting me stay to the end and then cutting me.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in hospice care listening to the show that night. I had no idea until a year later when I left, went to Illinois and then came back to work at another station in Buffalo, and I got a note from his hospice nurse.
Oh, wow.
Who said, yeah, he was a little S-word. But he said he was smiling, and he looked at her, and he goes, wow, somebody remembers.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the kind of things that just tears your
my
heart
gosh,
out. I mean,
yeah.
that really tore my heart out.
Yeah.
And I talked about the fact, though, that, when I got cut from every team, it was really the best thing that ever happened to me. You didn't know it at the time, but
All
there was
day for me.
nothing that
Yeah.
ever prepared me more for life than be rejected so many times, and back then, because people go, what do you mean? You had to make Little League. They don't cut. No, all Little League cut back then.
Back then they
you didn't
did.
make a team, you got cut.
They did when I was,
Yeah.
and I'm only 10 years behind you, but I mean, they were still cutting back then. Yeah.
I made the Cub Scout softball team because I didn't cut, and CYO basketball team because they didn't cut.
I didn't make the Cub Scout softball team. They didn't cut, but they also didn't let me play.
I've told you that story very quickly.
Yeah.
The two brothers that played on the team that were horrible, and their last name was, I'm not trying to be risque here, but their last name was Horror.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was screaming as a kid, come on,
No.
Horror's this and Horror's that.
Yeah.
I was screaming. And my parents, their heads were just bowed down. They changed their name. They actually changed their last name.
I would have.
I think it was Bailey or something.
I would have before my kids started playing ball.
But there it is right there. Progress Now has become an important partner to the group supporting the Biden-Harris agenda. So their goal now is to put out ads on social media, put out memes, anything they can to make Joe Biden appear cool. They're hiring 65 digital organizers across 10 battleground states to manage a band of volunteers who will be tasked with sharing the organization's online content far and wide. Your goal is to make Joe Biden cool.
You know the greatest thing about this? It's going to be online, which means you and I will have so much access to it.
Oh, yeah, we're going to know.
It's going to be so good.
We're going to know.
I can't.
If it says
wait.
Progress Now on the social media post, we will know.
Oh, yeah. I'm setting my alerts now. Now.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so good luck with that, but $70 million. You think about it, $70 million, you initially think that's a lot of money until you realize that every single day that he is out there, think about every single day that Biden's out there talking, the being at the Congressional Black Caucus, and what happened the other day with LL Cool J.
And what happened the day before that, the day before that,
the day before that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about because on social media, you're talking about millions of impressions that go out every single day.
Yeah, right.
Millions upon millions. And so you think 70 million is a lot, but it really isn't, especially if what they're doing is just perceived as gaslighting. And that's why we get back to what we started the show with today, which was messaging. How do you message? And we compared the Democrats over the weekend talking about how great the economy is and people just don't realize it, to the impeachment inquiry, where Republicans are saying, our talking points actually are the talking points of Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
They're actually the talking points of the people that work with Hunter Biden's. They're actually the talking points of the banks that created these electronic filings of these bank accounts and 20 different fake corporations where money was funneled through. And so it doesn't matter how much money you spend.
You could spend $70 trillion. You can't make Joe Biden look cool.
This is Red Eye Radio on West.